Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rcha HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. This is your brother Quan Watt of the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp, coming with a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And, as you can see by the title, man, more T attacks, more false flags, right? More black swans, right? This is what, the times that we're in, right? This is what's to come, right? This is what's on the horizon, right? Because we see Esau is backed into a corner, man, right? They can feel the end of their kingdom coming. And now they're trying to, pull out all the stops in order to both distract the minds of the people as well as try to garner support, right, for more of these military actions, man, right? For people, because ultimately what we're going to see is them push people into a position where they have to take that mark of the beast, man, right, through the collapse of this economy, right? We're seeing, as we had this article up, right, they have this guy drove into a synagogue out there, right? So they're trying to, bring sympathy to the small hats. They had the shooting down there in Texas, right? It's going to be a whole lot more, false flags, so-called T attacks, and more, black swan events that are going to take place, right, on American soil, man. So I wanted to get this here. This is Isaiah 47 and 12 in the NLT. It reads, "Now use your magical charms, use the spells that have worked, or you have worked all these years," right? So this is what's happening right now is, the Lord is putting these devils in a position where they have to break out all the stops pretty much, right? Everything that they've worked towards is at risk. So now they're doing more sacrifices. They're doing more attacks, right? They're trying to, to use those spells and all that witchcraft, right, to get back the strength that they once had, man, right? But the Lord is pulling it back from them bit by bit, right? Their access to the left hand is being removed, because the Lord has control over all these things at the end of the day, right? It says, "Now use your magical charms, use the spells you have worked at all these years. Maybe they will do you some good. Maybe they can make someone afraid of you," right? Because the nations and the people, they no longer fear these devils, man, right? So what are they doing? They're putting the fear back in the people, right, through these different attacks. They're gonna cause the collapse of the economy. They're gonna bring forth, different diseases and things of that nature, right? They're gonna push for sedition and civil war, right, in order to have the fear on the minds of the people, so that they're in a state of desperation, so that they ultimately take the mark of the beast, man. They're more and more willing to bend the knee and receive that implantable buy or sell device, right? It reads, verse 13, "All the advice you receive has made you tired. Where are all your astrologers, those stargazers who make predictions each month? Let them stand up. Let them stand up and save you from what the future holds," right? So what we're seeing right now is them trying to offset prophecy, man, right? All their witches and warlocks, right? Like I said, they're astrologers, stargazers, right? All their so-called wise counsel, right, is coming to naught, man, right? That's why the scriptures say, "Is there no more wisdom in teaming?" Every decision they're making is with haste now, man, because they can feel things slipping away, right? That's why it says, let's get this. Job 20 and we'll just read verse 20, or start in verse 20. It reads, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired, right? So that quietness is that ease, right? They're in a state of, dis-ease, right? There's no quietness, there's no rest, right? They have to be continually on go because the spirit of Yahweh Shemi Shai is continuing, man, right? So now they're uneasy, right? And that's when they start making mistakes, It says, there shall none be, what's like it? There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, right? So they're in straits right now at their height, right? They're going to be, right? And they're going to continue up until the Lord calls it, right? Till he says enough and cast them down, right? But that wicked goes into the workers, man. I believe the word is, I think it's Imal, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's Imal. It says the laborer, sufferer, right? Going into the people, right? Because the people are turning on them, man. So what are they doing? They're bringing forth events like this, right? Crashing the vehicles, right? They're having the shootings. They're having the reports of different cyber attacks and things of that nature, man. Right? They're trying to put the fear in the people toward a existential threat overseas with Iran, right? All these different things are in play because they're trying to regain control, man. Right? Let's go back. And like the elder brother's video popped up, happy to be in this truth, man. Right? These are happy times, The sooner this thing goes into chaos, the sooner we can get the hell up out of here, man. This is back in Isaiah 47. And verse 13 in the NLT. All the advice you receive has made you tired, right? There's no quietness, there's no rest, right? They have to keep going. They have to keep doing sacrifices. They got to keep, planning out these different black swan and terrorist attacks, man. Right? It says, where are all your astrologers, the stargazers who make predictions each month? Let them stand up and save you from what the future holds, because they know their future is destruction, man. Right? Like the scriptures say, he hath but a short time. Right? Let's get that. Because he knows this, man. He knows that, as it reads in Job, that there are bounds that he cannot pass. It continues in Job. It talks about how the candle of the wicked going out. It talks about how they shall have no remembrance in the street, man. Right? And that's what he's trying to offset. He's trying to, make sure, that he's remembered, right? And that's why he's going to ultimately try to go up against Yahweh Shai and the angels, man. Right? Because Esau wants to be, let's see. Yep. Esau wants to be that in the position of a deity, man, right? And that's where he's going to force the people to worship him, right? Through this AI system, this technocracy that's going to be established, man, right? Ultimately, that form of worship being the taking of that MOTB, right? The charagma. It says, Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right? So with him knowing that, we're about to see great wrath in the earth, man. Right? because he's going to pull out all the stops. He has nothing left to lose, you know? Right? We're going to see it, as brothers talk about, when the animal gets cornered, that's when they're the most dangerous, right? And Esau is in the corner right now, right? So he's going to scratch and claw, right? Bite, do everything it takes to try to make it out, man, you know? Let's jump down here. Verse 17, it reads, "And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed," and the woman going into the believers, man. Right, that dragon being Esau, Edom, because their main target is the believers of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Why? Like it says here, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahushai HaMashiach, right? And that testimony of Yahushai is what? The spirit of prophecy, man, right? Because he knows that we know his final end, man, right? But he has no idea, right? Like we go back to that Isaiah 47, right? It says, let me see here. Yep. It says, Isaiah 47:7, "And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it," right? So they didn't think about, like it says in the NLT, they didn't reflect on their actions. They didn't think about the consequences, right? They didn't understand the end or their final end, man, right? And now that they see it coming, they're trying to do everything in their power to keep it from happening, right? And that's what everything that you see take place in the earth right now is Esau trying to offset prophecy, man. But it's not going to work, right? Esau trying to restore himself to that former strength, you know? Let's get this here. This is Isaiah 19 and verse 11. We're reading the NLT. It reads, "What fools are the officials of Zoan? Their best counsel to the king of Egypt is stupid and wrong," right? So all the counsel that they take, all these, secret meetings, right? All these things are proving to be for naught, man, right? It says they will still boast, or slaki, will they still boast to the Pharaoh of their wisdom, right? Because you best believe, as they see these things take place in the earth, as they see the prophets continuing to prophesy, slaki, as they see the prophets continuing to prophesy, they see believers continuing to stand up, right? They see Jake coming back to their heritage, right? They're questioning, why didn't the means of deception work, man, right? And like it says, will they dare brag about their wise ancestors, right? Because they went and took all these customs and witchcrafts and knowledge from these ancient Philistines and Sumerian kings, and all this witchcraft from the ancient times, right? And tried to put it in place today, but they didn't account for the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai coming into the earth, right? And now, that we're seeing, it's like we're seeing their last end, man, their last legs, right? And that's when the desperation kicks in, right? And like the phrase says, desperate times call for desperate measures, man, right? And we're seeing the desperate measures start to take place, and we're gonna see more and more desperate measures happen, right? The black swan. Actually, let me see if I can find that definition. This is a black swan event. It says in the Free Dictionary, black swan event, an event or occurrence previously thought to be impossible, right? It says this crisis is a true black swan event downplayed by the government for. Oh, it's just an example. But yeah, right? They think something that would be impossible is gonna happen, man. So what would be a black swan event? The economy crashing, right? Which we're seeing being set up through this war, right? Various whatever cyber attacks, right? The T attacks, right? They're gonna try to pull a what's the word? Domestic terrorism, right? All these different things are on the horizon, and it's the will of the Lord, man. Let's get that in Second Ezra 15. Yep, this is Second Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right. So this is going into the sedition that's going to come to pass, man. Right. That they're what's the word? Antagonizing the people into being in the mind of being in a state of sedition. Right. Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? And martial law is a part of that, right? Because when these things happen, they're gonna push for more and more government control. We see that with the way Trump deployed the National Guard to these different cities, the way ICE has been spread throughout the country, which you don't hear anything else about them right now, but you best believe they're on alert, right? They got the sleeper cells from that snuck in across the border, right, during Biden's administration, right? Did these different EU what they call peacekeepers, so as they call them, man, right? Now, all these are in place, right, to be activated once the sedition starts, man, right, to try to regain control and have total control over the populace, man. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And, these things, this synagogue situation, the shooting down there in Texas, right, these are all planting that seed of sedition, man, right? That the seed of domestic terrorism, the seed of they want to push the anti-Shem narrative, right, in order to bring more persecution, right, to those who speak out against the small hats, man, right? Those who blame these Israelis for dragging Trump into this war with Iran, right? They're gonna keep doing these events to ultimately bring forth this downfall right here, man. Right, so that because they're gonna have to collapse the system in order to build up their new system, man. Right. It says a man shall have no pity on his neighbor, upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right. So let's go back. So let's get this and we'll close. It's Isaiah or Jeremiah, Salakia. Jeremiah 49 and verse 7. Concerning Edom, right? So speaking to you Edomites, right? The chief house of Esau being Amalek, right? You see these banking families. This is a message to you, right? It says, the Lord of hosts, is concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman, right? So is there no more wisdom amongst your wisest men, right? It says, his counsel perished from the prudent. Is their wisdom vanished, right? And this is what's happening, right? Their wisdom is weakening. So they have to do more and more, right? They have to bring forth more and more events like this in order to, maintain their power, right? In order to keep the people at bay until they can push forward their final agendas, man, right? And this is what we're seeing take place in the earth. Let me see. Yep. Because this is what we're seeing right now, right? This is Ezekiel 7:5. Thus saith the Lord, power and evil, and only evil, behold, is come, right? And it's evils being prepared every day, man, right? And ultimately, it's the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. He's working through Esau Edom, man, right, to bring that judgment. But we're seeing these events take place, man, right? And it's going to be begin to intensify, right, the closer we get, right, to our salvation, man, right? It says, an end is come, the end is come, it watcheth for thee, behold, it is come, right? So we're watching the end unfold, man, right? And we're watching, Esau's going to empty the clip, right? Before the nukes fly, he's going to do everything in his power to try to offset prophecy, right? Whether it be, again, the domestic T attacks, international T attacks, what's it called? These, what's the word? So-called hate crimes. So-called hate crimes, the Black Swan events, right? More like mass judgment events that take place. All these things that they're setting up, right, in order to try to regain control over the people is ultimately, forwarding prophecy, man. As the scriptures say, you can do nothing against the truth but for the truth, man, right? But, just a quick, touching on that, the topic of what we're seeing right now, right, in regards to, right, then they're going to start pushing that anti-Shem narrative again, right, that, I'm sure we'll see the ADL and the, things of that nature, pop their heads out in regards to this synagogue attack. But it's going to be more and more things like this come into play, right, in these end times, because they have to push the persecution, right, of those who speak of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. They have to try to, regain the minds of the masses, right, through that fear, to ultimately have people feel the need to take that device, man. So more synagogue attacks may be happening, right? Keep your eyes on the on the watch. More, shootings are going to be happening out here, right, with these sleeper cells and things of that nature, right? And more Black Swan events are going to be on the horizon as well, man. So Lord willing, stay prayed up, right? Stay watching, right? Stay vigilant. Lord willing, there's an edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. I want to close by giving our praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rekah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom, and Kwame Asherallah, and the Bible Ball. Shalom.